featured review is a new Polish Netflix release. This one is called Johnny. We are going to start with Zach. Tell us all about Johnny and what you thought.
We have Johnny, which is a Polish movie, and it's really hard to find on Netflix because it just goes to all actors named Johnny before you look it up, but it is there. Anyway, this is a movie that I think is based on a true story. I think if you watch the end of this movie, it's like, oh shit, was this real? I guess I didn't realize it. It is about the friendship between two, I don't know, lost souls, shall we say. One is a pastor or priest named Jan Kaczkowski, and it is in Poland, so forgive me if I butcher the pronunciation here, but he is a priest, a very devout priest, who I think, I wrote in my notes, he looks a little bit like Philip Seymour Hoffman and Capote if he was bald. What do you guys think of that? I think he's got like the thick rimmed glasses and the kind of Philip Seymour Hoffman sort of look. And at the beginning of this movie, he's a wonderful priest, but he gets a terrible diagnosis. It's like the first episode of Breaking Bad. He has a brain tumor, stage 4 glioblastoma. He decides that he is going to spend the rest of his remaining time as a priest trying to open up, ironically enough, a hospice. Because he wants to care for the sick. Along the way, he meets this other guy whose name is Patryk. He is a punk criminal, and he has been sentenced to jail. And as a part of his sentence, he has to give volunteer service time. And part of that involves working at the hospice that Jan is desperately trying to open. Now, for some reason that I couldn't quite understand, and there's several plot points this way I couldn't quite understand. One of which is that the higher-ups in the Catholic Church really do not like the plan for Jan to open up this hospice. And maybe you guys could tell me why, except for the fact that the elder in the church, I guess, was just an asshole. I guess he would win the douchebag in the movie, but I couldn't understand why he was so resistant to opening up a hospice. Regardless, Patryk really enjoys working at the hospice. He develops a friendship with Jan, and they develop a bromance, basically. And it turns into a warm, loving, happy movie where everybody ends up happy. So, we went into this movie totally blind, and it is fun to go into these movies blind because there was no reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, no festival circuit, nothing like that. And so if you're not following the movie, like maybe I wasn't doing the best job of, you can't just go on Wikipedia, that shit, okay? But I will say I was not a fan of this movie. I thought it was kind of painful to sit through. It's 2 hours long. God knows why it was 2 hours long. It ends like 3 different times. You know where the movie's going. I mean, it's a very, very predictable story. We get this rehabilitation project with the criminal who learns to do good, and you get this selfless priest who basically becomes a martyr for the sick and for this supposed lost cause and this other character. Their conversations are not profound. It's very corny, very cliche. My favorite stretch of the movie is the 20-minute stretch midway through where Patryk meets a girl, becomes her boyfriend, they get married, and they have a kid. All in 20 minutes. I mean, that's remarkable timing. Patryk, I guess, gets some Stickman Award for that work. It's magical, I guess. I thought of a few movies while I was watching this. I thought of Man on the Train, which is an infinitely better movie about two men from very different paths of life. Back in the old days in European art cinema, they made movies that actually were daring. This movie is bound to be remade. And the remake of this movie is going to be called A Man Called Jan or A Man Called Patryk. And Tom Hanks will definitely play Jan. Till then, this was not a very good movie. I give it 1.5 stars, and I hope I got the plot synopsis right because it was tough for me to sit through.
Todd, why don't you go next?
Okay, I mean, I'm not that far off from Zach. Early on in the movie, like the first couple scenes is really weird. It kind of makes you feel like you're watching Corpus Christi, the Oscar nominee for a few years ago or something. It starts out like real hot, like it's almost like there's like some crime going on. And it's like kind of interesting. I was like, okay, I can get into this, and then it's not really that at all. The acting is pretty strong. The connection between the two characters is pretty compelling, but the movie is completely incoherent. Like all throughout the movie, there are these montages that bridge together portions of the movie, like sort of. It just plays a song, and it feels like an epilogue at the end of the movie, but it's all throughout the movie. It felt like you're wrapping up the movie listening to this song by the Lumineers or whoever the hell they have playing the song, and like showing without dialogue or anything how the characters grew and how the characters changed, but then it's just a montage and it's really disorienting to watch and you have no idea where you are actually in the story. But the message of the movie is really good. Like It seems to be like a really impactful story to a lot of people. The priest Jan is probably like a fantastic human and did a lot of great things, but this needed to be a documentary. Like there probably wouldn't have been a ton of footage, but I just feel like if you were to talk to a lot of people that were around him, it wouldn't have been as speculating, and we wouldn't have had to relive these things that probably didn't actually happen. It would have been a lot better as a documentary, basically, instead of like a music video montage kind of thing that holds the movie together, which doesn't really do that well. But I can't get there. It moves really slowly, and it doesn't have the impact that it should have. And my mind was just wandering throughout the movie, or at least during the songs. So I'm at 2 stars, but I'm not that far off from Zach.
Yeah, I'm going 2.5, so I'm right there with you guys. But a lot of what you guys have said rings true. I think I'm much more into the sentimental than Zach is, which might explain my extra star that I give it from him. I think it's a strong story, but the way it's told is just really weird. And like Todd said, parts of it feel like you're actually in a music video. Like there's this one montage it has where it has Jan like in a dark room with just one beam of light on him as he's staring out a window. I'm like, this feels literally like a music video. Like you could cut out, like you could just simply take that and say, this is the music video for this song. The music was so schizophrenic too. Like the opening scene, there's a robbery that happens, and the robbery starts up and the music starts playing, and I turned to Todd and I said, hey, we're watching Blue Story now, because it sounded like the rapping from Blue Story by Rapman. Yeah, it's a good story. It's a fascinating story. A documentary would be interesting. They had enough to splice together that montage at the end. They might have had enough to actually do it. The performances are really strong by the 2 leads, and I just wish the movie had been built around them a little better.
This was one of the longest 2-hour movies of my life.
Yes, I said the same thing to Todd.
It's because of those montages that make you feel like you're at the end, but then you're like 25 minutes into the movie. Like
I could not believe how slow this movie was. And I don't really know. It's not even like the movie had very long scenes or anything like that. Like, I think if you looked at the screenplay, it probably moved along. It just felt absolutely like painfully slow. And then like the ending, I love that the ending had 5 different endings. It pulled a Lord of the Rings, like, just end already, come on. But come on, Terry, you know that we're getting an American remake of this. Bryan Cranston actually might be in the American remake for all we know.